so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors, LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network, LLC.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next-door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole, or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It's time to wake up with the Morning Boys on Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Good Monday morning and welcome into the Worldwide Sports. Oops. As we try not to break the studio to get this Monday show started off here. Okay. Mondays, folks, Mondays. That is... All right, there we go. Welcome into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network as we, again, try not to break the studio and try to get this Monday show off on the right note. Being a Mets fan, I think I'm used to disappointment, used to getting kind of lifted up just to get put down. And look at that. We start the show off, 2 seconds in, can't even get anything right, just like the Mets starting off this season. But I think we're good to go. I think we're rolling here. And we do welcome you in on this Monday morning. Hopefully you had a great weekend. Enjoyed watching live baseball, live sports for once. I know it was a great weekend, well, at least for one day, until the Mets actually started playing. And you remember just why you were left with so much disappointment and so much sadness year in and year out. But nonetheless, it was still great to watch some baseball. It was still great to see some actual live sports get going here on a weekend and have something to look forward to that's not, kind of the same old that we've been doing the last 4 or 5 months. This is really the first time to kind of break away from the normal routine that we've been in. And like I said, to look forward to something was a joy. It was nice. So that was obviously, hopefully, if you are a big baseball fan or just a sports fan thirsting for some live action, hopefully you enjoyed it. And we will start with some big takeaways from this weekend to us to start the show here. But also, we talked about some of the new rule changes a few weeks ago. There was one pitcher that just absolutely hates a new rule change, and judging by social media, there's one rule change MLB did everyone hates, but I am absolutely in love with. We saw it a lot this past week, and I'll tell you what it is and why I love it so much. We'll get to that in about 20 minutes or so. The New York Knicks, is this the one? Finally, is there some hope that maybe they can get out of just the malaise, not try to be a dumpster fire that they have been for really almost my entire lifetime in the last 2 decades for sure. They make a new head coaching hire, Tom Thibodeau. We'll discuss, is that the right move? Is the direction that they want to go in by hiring Thibodeau, the right way to go? We'll see. So I think at 9:40, top of the second hour, 10 o'clock Eastern. We had a big trade over the weekend. Jamal Adams, big safety for the Jets, goes and gets traded to the Seahawks. He gets his wish. He's been very vocal over the last few weeks about wanting a trade because he wasn't getting a new contract. He gets his wish. He goes to the Seahawks. But now the Seahawks put a lot of pressure on themselves. Giving up 2 first-round picks is no small price to pay for a safety that now you still have to pay and give a big contract to at some point. So we'll discuss the teams with the most pressure. I have 5 NFL teams heading into the 2020 season that have the most pressure on them. I'll tell you which ones those are and which NFL team has the most pressure on it in this 2020 season. 10-20, obviously we have 2020 or Apocalypse. The number 1 seed, Joseph Pidell, had a great debut in his regular season edition of 2020 Apocalypse. He has taken on the upstart, the hot, the underdog, the 10 seed Mike Biseglia, who in the regular season got in, made the playoffs on the last question, got in by the skin of his teeth, gets in the playoff round, upsets the number 7 seed Mike Pooley, and now he advances to the Elite 8. So the number 1 seed versus the underdog, the Cinderella, if as you will. The 10 seed Mike Biseglia would do that at 10-20. And we'll finish off. I do want to hit on the Jamal Adams trade in this sense. Jamal Adams, like I said, was very vocal on wanting out from the Jets, wanted a new contract, felt he was misled, didn't trust the general manager, Joe Douglas, didn't have a great relationship with head coach Adam Gase, and he, again, was not shy to voice his discontent and his displeasure with the Jets organization and the direction they're going in. He got out. He got his wish. Right? You rarely see it in the NFL where a player is upset, they're disgruntled, and they actually get out and force a trade. The NBA, we see it all the time. But now player empowerment is really starting to come into the NFL. We've seen it for a few players. And I'm curious your thoughts. Is this a good thing for sports? If you're a Jets fan, I'm sure you're a little upset. But is player empowerment, is seeing players basically dictate their terms, dictate where they want to go or dictate that they want to leave, and actually have that be accomplished, actually have that player get to who he wants. I'm curious, we'll end the show with that, if it's a good thing. If you like seeing player empowerment kind of take over sports and have a lot of players almost basically call their own shots, I'll tell you why I do like it. And I think it's a good sign, not just for the players, but I think for sports fans overall. I'll tell you why to finish off the show at 10:40. But like I said, MLB opening weekend. You had, of course, in the year 2020, as it always is, you get baseball back on Thursday night, Nationals, Yankees, and some rain comes. You only get 6 innings. Of course, so that's just how 2020 is. And now we have a full weekend of baseball in the books. Some big takeaways so far. And the biggest takeaway I have right now that is an ongoing sort of event that we have to watch here that I think is going to be very important, not just for Major League Baseball season to continue, but really, honestly, any major sport to continue. And the NFL is going to watch very closely. NBA and NHL are going to watch very closely what happens in the next few hours here. And that is something that we're going to start with. The biggest take right here is how Major League Baseball is going to handle the virus. I thought for the most part, the first few days, they handled it well. Thursday afternoon, the news comes out that the great Nationals star Juan Soto is positive for coronavirus. He misses opening day, hasn't played yet. But for the most part, outside of him, you haven't seen too many players on the Nationals. You haven't seen the virus spread. And so far, it was isolated just to Juan Soto, which is what you hope, right? Because I think, we can't be naive here. Players are going to get sick. The virus is going to spread. It's just how do you mitigate the spread? How do you contain it to just 1 or 2 players getting sick and not having an outbreak on a whole team? And now we are going to watch in real time how Major League Baseball handles it, because what happened with the Marlins on Sunday and now what's going on right now is going to be a big test case to see, Can Major League Baseball survive? Can sports really function without some sort of bubble? And even if the virus does infiltrate the bubble, like in the NBA and the NHL, how can they mitigate the spread? Because so far, in case you missed it, yesterday the Marlins had 3 players Sunday morning miss the game for what was coronavirus. They had a 4th player on Friday test positive. So the Marlins currently 4 players out with coronavirus, and now we are seeing possibly a possible spread, a possible outbreak on the team. The Marlins decide not to travel from Philadelphia back to Miami last night. They're going to travel this morning. Part of that decision was because they want to see who else tested positive and not go home to their families if they have a ton of players that are sick or that do have the virus. And now we're going to see, because despite having, Sunday morning waking up, having 3 different players, get test positive and miss the game on Sunday, they still decide to play the game. And the hope is that, okay, if you can just mitigate and isolate it to just these players, you hope it's okay. The players were tested late Saturday, and no other player was positive or had symptoms going into Sunday's game, but we still don't know. And now this is where it gets interesting, because you have the Phillies playing the Yankees. You have the Orioles now going out to Miami to play the Marlins. In theory, one team right now in the Marlins, if there are multiple players that are sick, if there are currently players that are asymptomatic, and we don't find that out until 2, 3, 4 days from now, the virus is going to spread, and we're going to really see in real time how quickly this virus can spread, not only within a team, but to other teams as well. You had Bryce Harper wearing a mask on base yesterday just to take an extra precaution to make sure he stays healthy. The Marlins are a real-life test case to see the spread of the virus and how good MLB's policies are of mitigating and containing the spread. Like I said, I thought so far you had a few players on a few different teams miss opening day or miss the series. And again, for the most part, you only hear 1 or 2 isolated incidents on that specific team. The Marlins are the first team where we have an outbreak. So that's my biggest take right here, is we are seeing 1 weekend in, 3 games into the season, we are currently seeing now MLB's testing protocols, and really it's getting pushed to the limit of, can this actually work? Can they mitigate the spread? Remember, when you had the summer camp 2.0, a lot of the players coming back, the positive rates were very low. And there's plenty of teams, including the Marlins, mind you. The Marlins were one of 13 teams before the series in Philadelphia started that had 0 positive tests when summer camp resumed, and they had about 3 or 4 weeks of spring training 2.0. So this is a new development, whether they got it going from the airport. Obviously, Miami is a epicenter. So whether it was leaving, whether it was somewhere in Philadelphia where a player first contracted it, we are seeing right now, with no bubble around Major League Baseball players, and testing so far, as we know, not exactly rapid, especially in this case, we will see truly how great MLB's plans are to handle the virus and try to mitigate the spread. Because obviously this is going to be the most important part of the season. If an outbreak happens, if the Marlins played the game yesterday and we find out, 2 or 3 days from now, that there are multiple players that played in that game that tested positive, that were asymptomatic when the tests first started, and they possibly infected Philadelphia Phillies players, they possibly infected other Marlins players, and God forbid if they do decide to play tonight against the Orioles, they infect Orioles players and so on, MLB's in big trouble, and the NFL is going to be in big trouble. And it's a sobering reminder that all the precautions you can take, all the testing you want to do, the virus is still here, the virus is still prevalent. That's at least my biggest takeaway so far. How MLB is going to handle the virus is getting pushed to the limit. I thought, like I said, you hear a few players testing positive over the weekend. It sounded good. I thought, honestly, that was almost the best case scenario. I was planning, up until late last night and now reading more this morning, I was planning on patting MLB on the back. I thought they've done a great job so far. Testing is low in spring training. A few players get sick opening weekend. They remove them from the lineup. So far, we haven't heard of any other players getting sick in any other teams like the Nationals. But the Marlins are a great example so far of just what truly can happen even if you take all the precautions. The virus is still prevalent, and we hope, knocking on wood as we speak, that none of the players are seriously sick and that the virus has been contained. No other players played yesterday carrying the virus and not knowing it. So we'll see how MLB handles it, and they're getting pushed to the limits. And no, I guess, this is going to be the major test right here. stinks to say that there's a chance if this goes awry that the season could be shut down or at least paused maybe before it even starts. So fingers crossed MLB can handle the virus. We'll see how that goes. We will monitor the situation even this morning to see what the deal is with the Marlins, if they do travel, if more tests come back positive. We'll keep updated as we're here until 11 a.m. On the East Coast. Other takeaway I had actually talking about specific games. Historic parity to start the year. Over this weekend, you had no team start 3-0, which means no team started 0-3. First time since 1954 that no team in baseball started 0-3 or 3-0. The odds of this happening is just 1.3%. So this is just a great example to show everyone is still working back. Everyone is on the same playing field. You had the Marlins, one of the worst teams in baseball, start out 2-1. You had the Orioles, win their first series over the Red Sox. The Giants, another horrendous team this year, split with the Dodgers, won 2 games, lost 2 games. Everyone is working back. Everyone's still trying to get in shape, and it shows in a sprint of a season. Maybe some of these easier games, some of these throwaway games, this team's going to be bad. In a normal year, you could roll over them. Not this year. First time since 1954, you had no team start 3-0 or 0-3. Historic parity to start this just ever crazy and wild 2020 season. Speaking of which, it's gonna be weird to say, but this is my third takeaway. It's gonna be a war of attrition in 2020 more than ever. I feel like we usually use that phrase and that saying when it comes to the NFL. For the most part, the healthiest team in the NFL wins the Super Bowl, right? They have obviously the best or more star players out on the field than anyone else. And for the most part, injuries are really the biggest way to kind of derail a talented team and prevent them from going to the Super Bowl. Baseball, as we know, it's a marathon. And you think the more games played, the more chance players get hurt, longer time they miss. And in theory, it is a war, but it's almost a marathon. But in this sprint of a year, when it's just 60 games, when you have spring training start, then stop, now that it's restarting again, you're going to have more injuries. And it's truly going to be an actual war of attrition. See who could stay the healthiest, who has done the best job at keeping their players healthy, working them along easily. And sure, more than ever, soft tissue injuries and other injuries don't happen. Yeah, Justin Verlander right now, the Astros, going to shut it down. Reports out that he could miss the entire year. Justin Verlander himself said it's just a forearm strain, but either way, he's getting shut down for 2 weeks at the earliest. So no throwing for Verlander for 2 weeks is going to be a long time. Corey Kluber left his start with some shoulder tightness after just 1 inning in his debut with the Rangers, and Marcus Stroman, before he even got a start on the mound for the Mets, tore his calf and is out for 6 weeks. So you're going to have a ton of players now these next few weeks here as we get ramped up, trying to squeeze in 60 games in a very short window, essentially just a little over 2 months. It truly is more than ever, more than a season of 162 games. It's going to be war of attrition. The healthiest team is going to win, and we're going to see a lot more injuries going forward in the next few weeks here. So more than ever, more than a normal 162-game marathon, a short 60-game sprint. It's going to be war of attrition, more than really we've ever seen in baseball. So that's the third takeaway. And finally, the last takeaway I have from this weekend. Mask ejections are just, hilarious. Seeing managers and umpires argue is always great, right? It's always exciting. You see the animation. You see the manager pointing in the umpire's face. Maybe he throws his hat or kicks some dirt. It's great. The more animated, the better. But to watch our first ejection yesterday, coming from the Pirates-Cardinals game, which you had home plate umpire Jordan Baker eject not the manager, Derek Shelton, eject Pirates pitcher Derek Holland, who's sitting in the stands, mind you, not playing as a pitcher. Sitting in the stands, just watching the game. He's chirping. Boom, he gets ejected. And then you have the Pirates manager, Derek Shelton, come out. And the funniest part is just seeing the mechanics of how this worked. You see the ejection happen. You see the manager run out. And before, basically, they run out, and then they both stop. The umpire takes his mask off, and what does he do? Goes in his pocket and puts his mask on. Derek Shelton comes out, stops, puts his mask on. And it's just funny to see. You kind of see, okay, this guy's coming out to argue with me. We can take our precautions. Everyone stops. And to see that the mask's getting put on. It was unintentionally very, very funny. And then to see them stay socially distant as well. Usually, again, you are chest to chest, nose to nose if you have a good umpire-manager argument. See them, keep their space. Almost looks like, with the mask on and keeping their space, it almost looks like a cordial discussion. But it was anything but cordial. Very funny to see, again, just the mechanics you have to in order to make sure and ensure safety, ensure social distancing, and ensuring, that the mask is on and no one is getting sick. So that was just unintentionally very funny. If you haven't seen it, I would highly suggest looking it up. It's on Twitter. It's on any social media. Very easy to find. Just you can do Pirates ejection, and it is very funny. So I'm just curious, what's your biggest takeaway from MLB's opening weekend? We have baseball back. You see currently right now MLB is getting tested with 4 players on the Marlins contracting the virus, and we'll see if more players become sick, and we'll see if they will even play tonight and how MLB is going to handle an outbreak so far in the team. It's going to be war of attrition. You've had already historic parity to start the year. So I'm curious, what's your biggest takeaway from MLB opening weekend? We'll discuss that. And when we come back, there is one MLB rule, one new rule for 2020 that I love and everyone else hates. I'll tell you what it is when the Morning Boys Ryan and Hickey return right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Oh, tell the world I see. With an emoji. To stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to mooch off your friends.
You gonna finish that grape?
You mean the one in my mouth? You don't need to stop buying the necessities.
What you're smelling is a natural musk.
Ew.
You don't need to be a medical test subject.
How do you feel?
Mostly okay. Sometimes, though.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman. Let's break for lunch.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
All right, deal. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It's time to wake up with the Morning Boys on Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
The absolute nightmare scenario for Major League Baseball is happening as we speak. We just started the show coming off saying, this is a big weekend for MLB. We'll see how they handle it. At the time, just even 3 minutes ago before we learned only 4 players on the Marlins were sick. Obviously, they waited in Philadelphia for more tests to see who's positive or not, and we'll see going forward how MLB is going to handle it. Well, those tests came back as you have Jeff Passan just about 10 minutes or so ago tweeting, 8 more players and 2 coaches of the Marlins have tested positive, as an outbreak has spread through their clubhouse, and now the total cases for the Marlins over the weekend is up to 14. That is the absolute worst-case scenario for Major League Baseball. The home opener against the Orioles has been canceled. No word so far if they'll play tomorrow, when they'll play again, and what the protocol is going to be for the Marlins. With 14 cases now of coronavirus since the season started on Friday. And even worse now, not only is that just bad, you have a complete outbreak in the clubhouse. It's bad because those 8 players and those 2 coaches were on the field, were in the clubhouse, and intermingled with the Phillies yesterday, which is the absolute last thing you want. When you have teams that are playing that are asymptomatic, that don't know it, that now could spread the virus to other teams, and we'll see what the domino effect is. You have to assume at least that the Phillies players are going to get tested again. Like I said, you had Bryce Harper and some other players wearing masks yesterday specifically because they heard the news that a few players on the Marlins tested positive. And this is also why I'm really glad, at least that they're coming out with the actual numbers, because MLB original plan, their initial plan, was to now make the numbers public. If a player contracted the virus, they're going to put on the IL, and there's no, you can get away with just saying, can't tell you what it is. I mean, obviously we assume, we know what it is. But I really didn't like at the time that Major League Baseball was not going to be clear about who's sick and who's not. Because I feel like, if anything, the more clarity, the better. The more clarity, the more you know about who is sick and when they got sick, the easier, in theory, you hope that it is to try to mitigate the spread, do contact tracing, and see who actually came in contact with the person or not. And now, as like I said, 8 more players, 2 more coaches become sick. The number for the Marlins is up to 14. We'll see if even the Marlins are allowed to play the next few weeks, what's going to happen, if the whole season is going to get paused, if just the Marlins have to forfeit these games. But you think Major League Baseball can't keep putting them out there. Whether it's a 2-week quarantine and they just forfeit, something has to happen, because it's too, as we see, the spread happens too quickly to even take a chance and allow more of the league to get exposed to one team that clearly is infected. So we'll see. The ball's in Major League Baseball's court, and I'll say this. Obviously, Major League Baseball is the first team to resume, major team to resume. You have hockey and basketball come up this weekend. Doesn't make me exactly, feel great or give me a lot of confidence that Major League Baseball, who can't get out of their own way with really anything, any sort of issue you put in front of them, they have a tough time clearing that hurdle. It's not exactly the best feeling in the world, knowing that Major League Baseball now is going to have to lead the way for other major sports to see how it's done and either be used as an example of this is how you deal with positive tests going forward and still continue a season, or they're going to be an example of this is how not to do it, How Major League Baseball is going about it is the complete opposite way to do it. They handle it the wrong way. The season gets shut down. And it's just an absolute mess. 3 games into the year, the first outbreak happens. Again, the coronavirus, reminding everyone that it's still here. It's still prevalent. And we'll see how Major League Baseball handles it. But the game tonight, or their home opener against the Orioles, has been canceled. No word yet on the rest of the series. No word yet on the future of the Marlins. But 14 players and coaches currently test positive for the coronavirus. To keep you updated with anything that comes about from Major League Baseball. We'll see how they handle it, because they got to work quickly here. Ton of games being played today. The Yankees are supposed to be going to Philly to play the Phillies. Supposed to be in the same clubhouse the Marlins just were in. Playing against a team the Marlins just played against yesterday, with 8 players and 2 coaches that played in yesterday's game, or at least in the dugout in the ballpark, that had the virus but did not know it. So Rob Manfred already getting tested, baptism by fire for this season, and it's like I said, I would have more confidence if it was Adam Silver in the NBA. I'd have more confidence if it was Roger Goodell in the NFL dealing with the first outbreak rather than Major League Baseball. The biggest moment of the season happened just 4 days after it starts. So we'll keep you updated. We hope, obviously, that all the players and coaches are okay. They seem to all be asymptomatic, which is obviously a good thing. We hope that they recover, have no underlying health issues going forward, and do recover in a quick and timely manner. But we'll see what happens. There was just actually talk about some real baseball that happened over the weekend, though, because at this point, we may already seen the last of baseball. But hopefully, if not, there's one rule, and there's one pitcher specifically that hates the new rule that I feel like I really love, but social media hated, a lot of fans did not like, and that's the new extra innings rule, where if the game is tied, you go to extra innings, you put a runner on second base to start the new inning with no one out. Already, you give each team a chance to score runs. It was the debut of that. It sounded at least good on paper. Actually see it in real life. To me, I thought it worked great. I thought it really, really, really helped add some intensity to the game. I thought it worked out well. I thought it brought some excitement. I thought really, for the most part, it was a win-win. But like I said, not everyone liked it. Actually, most people did not like the rule. And the one pitcher that went on the record that was very frustrated with the new rule happened to be Indians pitcher Mike Clevenger. I should say he was not happy about it. He tweeted after Saturday's game, when the Indians did lose in extra innings 3-2. He tweeted, "This new extra inning rule is the wackiest bleep I've ever seen. Do you have any idea how hard it is to get a runner to second off the back end of a bullpen? Hashtag this isn't travel ball. Hashtag make 'em earn it," and tagged Major League Baseball. So there you go. There's a pitcher. Obviously, it makes sense. A pitcher does not like the extra inning rule. It favors the offense. It favors scoring. And obviously, with his team on the losing end in the first extra inning game of the year for Cleveland, makes sense he's upset. But reading this tweet, hearing Mike Clevenger talk about how hard it is to get a runner second base off the back end of the bullpen, he answers his own question as to why this rule is so great. He laid it out perfectly. Bullpens, the way they're constructed right now, with every guy coming in fresh, every guy throwing 98, 99, 100 miles an hour, it's becoming harder and harder for players and hitters to get on base and score runs. It's tough. Right now, the pitchers have the advantage. Obviously, we know the home run ball is prevalent and the home runs keep on going up. But it is tough to have any success with these bullpens. You constantly have guys coming in and throwing harder and harder. So what does that happen then? It leads to longer games with not much excitement. To be honest, I've seen this a lot on social media. Oh man, no more 18-inning games, no more 19-inning games, no more 20 innings. I'll take that. I'll take one of those marathon games than ending the game in the 10th inning right away. Who honestly stays up to watch an 18-inning extra inning game? Does anyone? Let's be honest here. You can try to stay up, but most of these games that go extra innings and go, 17, 18, 19 innings, you have work the next day. What happens on a weeknight, a 7 o'clock local start? Game doesn't end until 1 or 2 a.m. Are you really staying up to watch all extra innings? You can try, but most people don't make it. I know for a fact, when I think of baseball, I don't root and hope for extra innings. I don't want a 15, a 16, a 17 inning game. You're in the twilight zone by the time you get that late. You have pitching, now you have position players coming in to pitch. You're burning through your bullpen. That's not something I wanted for, I yearned for, and I don't miss it. This new rule adds excitement. It makes it intense right away. Not to mention, if we're talking about viewership, we're talking about making the game more exciting. MLB needs fans. They need excitement. They need to draw fans in. Having games go to extra innings that, boom, right away, put intensity, put intrigue, put pressure on other teams, it helps increase viewership. Think about it. If now I know, if I'm hanging out at home, big Mets fan, if the game's over, the Mets are off, and I'm kind of flipping the channels, I stumble onto a game that's in the 10th or 11th inning, I'm putting on, because guess what? Right away, I know there's action. Right away, you're starting the run on second base, and you can either try to score for a big inning, and you know one way or another, every pitch, every at-bat is intense. Whereas if you get to the 15th inning, the 16th inning, the 17th inning, and you have position players that have been out there the whole time, they're tired, they're fatigued, and you still have bullpen guys coming in and throwing hard. It's a point of no return. Then you're hoping for a mistake. Those games are just honestly boring to watch. So I love this new format. I love the excitement right away. I love as soon as it goes to extra innings, boom, right away before we even come back from a commercial, here we go, it's intense. So not only does it add more intrigue, and again, like Mike Clevenger said, do you know how hard it is to get a runner on second base on the back end of the bullpen? Mike, it's really hard. You know that. We all know that. Boost scoring. Put more intense situations on teams. It's part of the reason why playoff baseball is so much more popular than the regular season. Every pitch, especially in playoff baseball, every pitch is intense. Every pitch means something, literally. In the third inning, you can have a runner on second base and 2 outs. It's a huge at-bat right there, where in the most part, any other game right now, okay, I mean, sure, you want to prevent the run, but it's not that big of a deal. That's why playoff baseball is so popular, and it's impossible, for the most part, for baseball in the regular season to have that much intensity to match up with that pressure in that moment. And you do that right away with putting a runner on second base to start extra innings. So not only does it make it easier to score and add more intensity, it adds more strategy. I'm a National League fan. I hate the designated hitter. I hate it. To me, it makes a manager's job a lot easier. It takes away part of the strategy from the game. And it doesn't allow those more creative managers, the managers who know how to manage their roster, how to manage the bullpen, how to manage pinch hitting. It takes that part away. So now at least, especially with the designated hitter in both leagues, you add more strategy that before wasn't there. Because guess what? You have multiple different ways to try to get a run in extra innings. Do you play for one run? Do you get conservative and hope that you get this run in from second base? You could, and your bullpen could come in and hold them and keep them scoreless? Or do you say, you know what? We're both in this situation. It's going to be tough. We might as well try to score as many runs as possible because guess what? We know the other team's going to get their opportunity when they come up to the plate. And they're going to have a chance to score multiple runs. We saw both strategies this weekend. In the Royals game, the Royals-Indians game I just related to, or just talked about with Mike Clevenger. The Royals' approach in the 10th inning was this. So you obviously have the runner on second base. Sacrifice bunt to get the runner to third base. Sacrifice fly to get the runner in. You had a walk, and then that runner on first base trying to steal second was caught stealing. So you had the Royals win the game with a sac bunt, a sac fly, a walk, and a caught stealing. Technically, no one came up to bat, an official at bat in the 10th inning for the Royals, and they still won. So the Royals played for one run, and it worked. You had the Braves, when they played the Mets on Saturday, they played for the big inning. They started swinging. They brought their boppers up there, and they were hitting. And they scored 3 runs. And guess what? It worked out because guess what? The very next inning, they scored 3 runs. The Mets loaded the bases right away. And they scored a run. So it's not a guarantee that one run wins you the game. Even 3 runs. I'll be honest. As a Mets fan, when the Braves scored 3 runs, I was upset. Okay, it's a bummer. But then okay, right away you got to run on second base, the leadoff double. You get a walk, a base hit, all of a sudden the tying run comes to the game. So it encourages teams to be aggressive in extra innings. I know people say it's boring to watch sacrifice bunts and sacrifice flies win the game, but you have to be aggressive more than not. Both strategies can work, but it depends on which manager, what they prefer. So it adds more strategy, adds more intrigue, and it gives more responsibilities to the manager, which, as we know, and as I said, that's becoming less and less. The general manager now in the analytics department has a lot of say in how the lineup is made. The designated hitter basically takes away a lot of the pinch hitting, pulling on a starter, doing double switches. It takes a lot of that strategy out of the game. But adding a runner at second base, figuring out, okay, do we play for the one run and think our guy can hold it? Or do we play for a big inning? Do we play to get a few runs across the board here? I think it's great for strategy. I think it's great for excitement. I think it's great to add pressure situations right away, and it's great for viewership. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. And this is coming from a fan whose team played in one extra inning game and lost. I'm not loving the format because the Mets benefited one game. I'm loving the format because right away you add intensity, you add intrigue, and you add scoring. Let alone provide managers with more strategy and make them think about more things. Can't just go to the binder and say, oh, what do we do here? Some moves and you try to be aggressive will backfire. All the times you try to play conservative, get the one run across, and the other team ends up scoring two. So I really enjoyed the format. I thought it really worked, but I really seem to be in the minority. I saw a lot on social media of fans being upset, of players being upset, and not liking the new format. I understand baseball is a sport that really hates change. It's an older fan base. You know, the NFL and the NBA, really social media present. They have a younger fan base, so they are more apt to change. They are more okay with rules changing, with formats changing. But for baseball, you have a lot of traditionalists. Don't want to see the game change. Like it the way it is. And I feel like I, for the most part, fall into that category. I'm an old soul when it comes to baseball. I really don't like change. I don't like much of the pace of play rules. I think that's misguided in terms of trying to get more fans to buy in to watch the game. But anything that includes more strategy, anything that really adds extra pressure and intrigue right away, I'm a fan of. So this is a wild card, a radical idea, but I really, really like it. I hope it stays past 2020. I really do. Traditionalists for most aspects of the game, but not this. I do love change. I think this is great, exactly what Major League Baseball needs. And I hope to see it here for a very long time. So I'm curious. We had a few games go extra innings. Mind you, every single game, by the way, ended in the 10th inning. Not one game that went to extra innings this past weekend, on opening weekend, went past one inning. Either the team scored and held, or they scored and couldn't hold, and the other team obviously scored more. It adds intensity, it adds excitement right away. And it ends games earlier. I don't miss 18-inning games, I'll be honest. I really don't. So I'm a big fan of it. I hope it stays, but I'm curious your thoughts. After seeing it in action, after seeing it now live in a few different examples in a few different games, do you like the extra innings format? Do you like the change? Do you like that baseball now has put a runner at second base with no one out in extra innings to get the game going, to get the games flowing, more intensity, more strategy involved? I love it. Social media doesn't like it. Players don't like it. I'm in the minority, it feels like, when it comes to the extra inning rule. I love it. I hope it stays for a while. Love to get your thoughts. Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio on Twitter, WWSRN_radio on Twitter. So get your thoughts. Do you like the new MLB extra innings format? And when we come back, we'll also discuss the New York Knicks hiring Tom Thibodeau over the weekend to be their next head coach. Is this the direction that they finally should be going in? Is there actual hope that change can come about at Madison Square Garden and the Knicks can be at least a contender going forward? We'll discuss that when the Morning Boys, Ryan Hickey, return right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Be fearless at MMA Long Island and Seituha Karate. Located at 28 Cold Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu Karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com, or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you've left me no choice. I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is really serious, and lately you seem to really not care. I've been there for you since day one, and I know you think I'm gonna keep ticking, but no, my friend, I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to the good times, when we were more active and ate more healthy foods, and you checked on me every once in a while? Is that too much to ask? I don't want to leave. But unless you stop ignoring me, what else am I supposed to do? Remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Doing the minimum to control your high blood pressure isn't doing enough. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It's time to wake up with the Morning Boys on Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
And we are back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, monitoring the breaking news, the unfortunate circumstances, the nightmare scenario that any sports league, let alone Major League Baseball, has to deal with, and that is an outbreak on the Miami Marlins. Currently, so far, 4 players tested positive and missed games throughout the weekend in Philadelphia. And it comes back this morning that 8 more players, 2 more coaches at least, have contracted the virus and are positive. John Heyman's reporting 40% of the Marlins traveling staff, that's coaches and players at least, have contracted the virus. So numbers are a little different, but either way, they're in the same ballpark. About 14 to 15 players and coaches that have tested positive so far. You have the Marlins and Orioles. Their home opener down there in Miami has been postponed. We have no clue yet of word about the rest of the season, what's going to happen with games scheduled today. The Yankees are going down to Philadelphia to play the Phillies. Obviously, the Phillies were just exposed not only to the Marlins, but also had the Marlins stayed in their visiting clubhouse, which the Yankees are going into. So we'll see if that game is going to be played tonight. But like I said, Major League Baseball, of all the four major sports, right, NBA, NHL, NFL, MLB, MLB is the one I trust the least to handle this the right way. I'm a big baseball fan. And I think I think there's been certain scenarios and certain instances that Rob Manfred has been unfairly criticized. I think for the most part, a lot of the things that he has said or a lot of actions he has done, his hands were tied. I've defended him. I still will defend him to this day about the Astros punishment. I think it's one of those situations where no player being suspended was the right move because you have to, in order to figure out how the cheating went on, give the players immunity to give all the details. So I have his back, and I still believe that he made the right decision in that situation, but a lot of people obviously don't feel that way. But I feel like, so Rob Manfred, I do feel, has done a better job than a lot of people like to think or give him credit for. With that said, as we know, Major League Baseball is the one sport that really, they can't even chew gum and walk at the same time. They struggle with the simplest of problems they struggle with solving. I think about it. We almost didn't have a baseball season this year in a time that baseball is struggling with the ratings, struggling in popularity. You've seen the NFL and the NBA both soar past them. The national pastime is not that anymore. And it looks the way the NFL has a stranglehold so far in the market. The NFL is going nowhere. So in a year that fans actually want baseball, there's no sports, and there's a time that MLB can actually market themselves to audiences they never were able to reach before. This is one of the best chances to get baseball back and on the national level. And guess what? Instead, they barely got the season. They barely got off the ground. So if they can't even agree to simple parameters to get a season going forward, if it took this long to struggle for the common good, I have zero confidence, to be honest, that they can handle this in the right way. If it was the NBA, if it was the NFL, even the NHL. The NHL has their own problems with Gary Bettman. Even if it was one of those three other leagues, I would feel more confident that they would handle this the right way, whether it's postponing the season, whether it's having the Marlins forfeit 2 weeks worth of their schedule. I would feel a lot more confident if any of the other three major sports leagues were the ones dealing with the first outbreak within a team and not Major League Baseball. So we'll continue to keep you updated. We'll continue to say if any games are canceled or not, but let's just say my optimism is not high right now that MLB can handle this in the right way. So a lot of baseball talk, any opening day takeaways, any thoughts on the extra innings, the new extra innings format, putting a runner on second base and no one outs. We will take your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network. Tweet us, WWSRN_radio, WWSRN_radio. Or if you want to throw us a tweet my way, Ryan_Hickey and the number 3, Ryan_Hickey and the number 3. We'll read your comments, we'll get your thoughts. But I do want to sprinkle in a little basketball here. On the weekend, Knicks interviewed what it felt like a million different head coaches, a million different assistant coaches, trying to replace David Fizdale and then in part replace Mike Miller, who's the interim head coach. And they have landed the man. Tom Thibodeau is going to be the man to take over the helm for the New York Knicks. Obviously, he has a long-standing relationship with new general manager Leon Rose. And in the hire, the Knicks are hoping that Tom Thibodeau can bring the success he's had in Chicago, the success he's had in Minnesota, and being a former assistant coach on the staff, he knows what it takes to get the Knicks back in the right direction, back into playoff contention, and basically out of just the basement, which they've been in for almost 2 decades outside of 2 or 3 good years. Thibodeau, as a head coach, his teams have made the playoffs 6 out of 8 years. 5 for 5 in Chicago, made it once in Minnesota, but they've also had some historic issues making the playoffs just like the Knicks here. And you look at least what the Tom Thibodeau hire actually means. Because a lot of the Knicks head coaching hires, depending on who they hired, would show which direction they're going into. Right? For the most part, with Thibodeau getting hired, the direction that the Knicks are trying to go into, that they're telegraphing the direction they're trying to go into, that they are not here for development. They are really not into a rebuild. And instead, quickly trying to turn around the ship. They are hoping that With Thibodeau here, he can really have the success that he did in Chicago, have the success that he had in Minnesota, turn around quickly and at least get the Knicks into the playoffs. For me, I honestly don't like this approach. Because what I feel the Knicks are doing in this hope of their quick fix and there's hope of a quick turnaround to get back into the playoffs within a year or two, I feel like they've tried that the last few hires. It hasn't worked. They tried that with David Fizdale. They wanted to do that with Jeff Hornacek. And it's just the same thing. It's rinse and repeat. This is the guy that's going to lead us to the playoffs. This is the man that we want at the helm that's going to get the Knicks back, going to turn the organization around. And then in 2 years, here they're having the same conversation talking about who's the next guy to turn the Knicks around. Thibodeau. Fizdale, he didn't know. This is our guy going forward. I don't like this approach the Knicks are going into. I don't like the direction they're heading into because they've tried it a bunch. It's the definition of insanity. What is the definition of insanity? When you try things when you do things the same way over and over and over again and expect the same result. A different result, excuse me. I really butchered that one. When you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. The Knicks have tried in the last few coaching hires to rebuild on the fly, hope to get a star somehow, whether it's via trade, whether it's through free agency, and then turn it around. Guess what? Newsflash for you. Anyone in the Knicks organization, a.k.a. James Dolan, the one who has this fantasy that every new head coach he brings in is going to be the guy that gets free agents here, is going to be the guy to turn it around. That hasn't worked. The Knicks need to go in the route of player development. Because guess what? They've been awful at it. They've been horrendous at drafting well and developing that talent. And the one time they did it really well, that player's not on the team anymore. You draft Kristaps Porzingis, a very little-known guy. No one knew what to expect. He comes in, becomes a star. He shines. He gives Knicks fans hope that this could be the player, the cornerstone, to turn this organization around. And guess what? Porzingis was sick and tired of the backstabbing, of the lying, of just the incompetent culture that starts at the top and bleeds down. And he said, get me out of here. My career is screwed if I'm staying here in New York for 10 or 15 years. He gets out, he goes to Dallas, and now him and Luka Doncic have a great 1-2 punch. They draft Frank Ntilikina. They draft Kevin Knox. And guess what? They have not been able to develop them. I think there's a lot of talent there. I like Frank Ntilikina. I want to see more of Kevin Knox. They have been horrendous at developing them. The Knicks have been so bad for so many years now, always in the lottery conversation, always hoping they're one big draft pick away from turning the ship around, but they have nothing to show for it. At least the Sixers, when they decided to tank, when they decided to trust the process, at least they got stars out of it. At least they developed young players. They got Joel Embiid. They got Ben Simmons. We'll see if it works. But at least they've developed those players to make them all-star caliber players, at least. They've turned that team around from perpetual loser to at least playoff contender. A threat in the East. The Knicks have done nothing. They've got nothing to show for it. So I'm concerned because now you basically continue to go the route of hoping to get a star, hoping to turn the ship around quickly, and player development is not exactly a strength of Tom Thibodeau. When he went to Chicago, he had Joakim Noah, who's young and good. He had Derrick Rose, obviously, who won the MVP under his time. You had Karl-Anthony Towns with the Timberwolves, traded for Jimmy Butler. Who's that young cornerstone piece that you can point to on the Knicks right now and say, you know what, okay, he has this guy. That is what you'll use so far, and he can turn the team around with this guy as our cornerstone, as this guy's the main guy. I like R.G. Barrett. I think he showed some flashes in his first year. But he's not a Derrick Rose when Thibodeau came to Chicago. He's not a cat when Thibodeau took the head coaching job with the Timberwolves. The Knicks should have went with with a coach that can get the most out of his young talent. I really like Kenny Atkinson. I advocated before on the show that the Knicks should go down the route of bringing Kenny Atkinson in. Because guess what? The route Kenny Atkinson, or I guess the route that Kenny Atkinson would bring is how you truly bring stars and how you bring talent to New York. For a long time now, the Knicks have basically tried to will their way to bringing stars in. Every year you hear James Dolan say, oh, we're making a run. We're clearing up cap space now. So in 2016, 2018, 2019, 2020, we could bring this guy in. It started with LeBron James. That didn't work. He goes to Miami. And every year you hear the Knicks linked to some big superstar that's a year or two away from free agency. The latest being Kevin Durant. Guess what? They clear all this cap space out. They sign all these players to one-year deals. And then you have star players go elsewhere. And you have star players like Kevin Durant go into the same city, or into a different borough, and pick the Nets. So wishing, hoping, praying that a star comes to New York is not the strategy to actually get a really good player to come to the Knicks. They signed Amari Stoudemire. You know why they signed Amari Stoudemire? Because he had health concerns and they paid him more than anyone else would want to pay him. They traded for Carmelo Anthony. Other than that, the Knicks have swung and missed on every single free agent or trade that they've been rumored or they've talked about publicly to do. Kenny Atkinson, the reason why he got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to the Nets wasn't because he was out there vocally saying, oh man, I can't wait to get these guys. You know, this is the year I feel like the Nets are going to really, we're going to land, we're the Brooklyn Nets, We're going to get a big time star for sure. No, he did it through developing a young core that was one star player away from being a real contender. The Nets were a very scrappy team last year, led by D'Angelo Russell. You had Karis LeVert when he was healthy. You had Spencer Dinwiddie. You had players, young players, develop and play really well that got them to the playoffs. And you knew, looking at the Nets, the young core was there. The Clippers did the same exact thing. Clippers developed young players. They built a strong nucleus that was a playoff team without a superstar. And they were a finals contender with a superstar. You had Kawhi Leonard and Paul George go to the Clippers. You had Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving go to the Nets. Both are second-tier teams in that market. The Lakers are king. The Knicks are king in terms of relevancy, in terms of fans in that market, in terms of attention. But yet the four biggest stars in free agency went to two teams that were second in that market. Because they developed their players. Because they had built a strong nucleus that was one player away, one star player away from being legitimate contenders. And that road of development, that building a nucleus from the bottom up, drafting well, more important than drafting well, developing those players, is the one route the Knicks have yet to try. They go for the quick fix. They go for the Band-Aid. They go to hope, to play for a 7 seed or an 8 seed and get to the playoffs. It hasn't worked. And with Tom Thibodeau, they're trying it again. They're dressing it up a little different. They're telling you things that are sort of the same, but a little different than past head coaching hires. But they're going down the same route. They're going down the same path that they've gone year and year and year after. So I hope Thibodeau's the answer. I hope he could turn it around. I'm a Knicks fan. I want them to see them win. Say I'm skeptical at the least is what I'm feeling right now. Since 2002, only 3 head coaches of the Knicks have made it to their third year. 3 have seen a third year since 2002. Almost 2 decades. Think about that. I have a feeling we're going to have the same conversation in 2 years or 3 years from now because the Knicks, yet again, neglect to build a core, hope, wish, and pray that they can land a big star and get going. I hate to tell you, hoping, wishing, and praying isn't a strategy. That's a losing philosophy. And there's a reason why the Knicks have tried that philosophy for a while now, and it hasn't worked. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts about the Tom Thibodeau hire? Is he the right guy for the Knicks? The Knicks have been a dumpster fire for almost 2 decades. Is he the guy that can finally get them out of their misery, get them back into the playoffs? Because there's not much hope when you look at the Knicks. The roster is young and underdeveloped. No, there's zero reason why a big-time star, either via trade or free agency, would want to come to the Knicks. Hope is slim. Is Tom Thibodeau the guy to get the Knicks out of their malaise, get them back into relevancy, and really make them a respected franchise again? Love to get your thoughts. Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio. If you want to tweet me, Ryan_Hickey and the number 3. Ryan_Hickey and the number 3. Is Tom Thibodeau the guy to get the Knicks out of the basement and get it back into the playoffs. So get your thoughts. And when we come back, the Seahawks made a big trade over the weekend with the Jets to get Jamal Adams, put a lot of pressure on themselves to be successful. 5 teams going to 2020 that have the most pressure on them in the NFL. We'll tell you who that is when the Morning Boys Ronnie Hickey return right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779.